At Boston Market, you can get the chicken America loves and the chicken America wants. Because now you can buy a whole chicken, double chicken, then slow chicken, so it's always the chicken America loves. And we guarantee 100% chicken.
Plop. I'm back. My name's Chef Ian Brutal Foods, and I haven't eaten anything in 5 months. And I'm about to break that streak with some Boston Market frozen meals. I was honestly never a huge fan of Boston Market as a child, but maybe these nearly expired frozen feasts will change my mind. Today I will be tasting the Boston Market Salisbury Steak, the chicken Parmesan, and of course the beef steak and pasta. All three very scary meals, especially because I haven't eaten a frozen dinner since... I'm not sure my stomach is really equipped for this, but let's get started. Salisbury steak in a savory beef gravy with rotel pasta in a creamy 3-cheese sauce. Out of all of the frozen meals that I've tried, Salisbury steak seems to be the most reliable food format. It's also an excellent source of protein, which is maybe the only positive thing I'll say all day about it. I will say though, I'm not the biggest fan of mac and cheese. I think I've said this before, but I'm willing to give it a shot. Oh boy, that looks frozen. I'm actually a little surprised. It's been long enough since I've opened one of these that I'm actually a little bit surprised. Like, I get it, you know, mac and cheese, it's gonna look different when it's frozen because the cheese hasn't melted. But that doesn't mean that I have to love how it looks. Because it looks weird. It looks honestly a little more like ramen to me than noodles. I can actually smell it though. Like maybe not. I feel like I smell the mac and cheese. This is an airtight seal, so I don't really see how that's possible. But something smells cheesy. All right, Salisbury steak. It smells pretty good. You know, I haven't smelled the smell in quite some time. Basically smells like a mixture of beef, gravy, and sadness. Let's dig in. Oh, so wet. Love a drippy meal. Everyone loves a drippy meal. Guess I'll just put this in here. I don't have anywhere else to put this. It's going in here. Well, the cheese definitely needs to be stirred. Oh, no. Cheese is very watery. Cheese is very chicken. It reminds me a little bit of a wet nacho cheese, just by the looks of it. Not really by the smell of it. It just smells like cheese. You know, it's not repulsive. It's very wet. I would say that the flavor is mild. It's got like a hint of cheese. It's mostly water, but there's some cheese in there. I've had worse. As not a very big fan of mac and cheese, I'm gonna label this mac as okay. I'm gonna downgrade it. The more I eat, the more I feel like I don't love it. I'm gonna downgrade it to kind of okay, which is still pretty good. But let's take a look next door over here. The star of the show, the Salisbury steak. You know, sometimes they put marking, oh, there they are. I was gonna say, sometimes they put fake grill marks on the meat, and yep, there it is. I like the touch. I know it's fake, but I prefer to see those grill marks on there. That's Salisbury steak. Kind of like being back at a cafeteria. It kind of tastes like cafeteria food to me now. I mean, it's pretty good. It tastes exactly as it looks, like a lump of miscellaneous meat smushed together for my pleasure. Would I stand for line in it? No. Would I eat it in a food emergency? Also no. I actually am pretty hungry today, so it's doing a good job of filling me up. Pretty standard fare for a Salisbury steak, I'd say. I honestly think the biggest drawback of this meal is the mac and cheese. I would just prefer to have a nice, stash of mashed potatoes here. Pretty good. That is a solid Salisbury steak. If you're a fan of frozen Salisbury steak, you won't be disappointed by this one. And if you like mac and cheese, hey, this might end up being the meal for you. When you look at the reviews of this though, it's kind of taken a beating. People don't really love this Salisbury steak meal. This review here seems to imply that an older version of this meal used real mushrooms, and that made me want to kind of search around for anything that looked like a mushroom, and I'm not able to find anything. Like, is this a mushroom? Not really sure. No, it wasn't. Oh, here we go. This was substantial. This is a substantial lump of something. I think that was a mushroom. The gravy tastes like wet dog food, so does the Salisbury steak for that matter, and you can't even tell the mushrooms are mushrooms. They look like bits of wet bread and taste about the same as wet bread. Accurate. From box to plate, it is a very vague experience, vaguely reminiscent of good mac and cheese, vaguely reminiscent of gravy and meat that is the correct shape. I'm just gonna go ahead and take a guess and say that this is gonna be the best meal of the three. I've always been a fan of the Salisbury steak, so I decided to start with the least intimidating. But now it's time to move on. It's time to get intimidated. Next up is chicken Parmesan.
Chicken.
Lightly breaded all white meat chicken on a bed of fresh pasta in a rich marinara sauce. Usually I feel like these things have quotes on the box about how delicious they are. I see no such quotes on this box. All they're willing to brag about is that this is all white meat chicken. A chicken Parmesan seems like a really tricky meal to make as a frozen experience. It is a clear combination of two very different textures. You've got the gooiness of the noodles and the sauce mixed with that crispy outside of the chicken. The question we have to ask ourselves here is, do we think that a microwave meal will be able to produce a crispy chicken Parmesan? My guess is no. This picture here, the top on the chicken, looks a lot like a Lunchables pizza to me, and I think that's a great sign. Looks like a lasagna, looks very lasagna-esque. I will say that it does look immediately more appealing than the Salisbury steak did. There's a lot more going on here. You've got the noodles, you've got the cheese, you've got the chicken, you've got the sauce. It all looks pretty good. It's just that one crispy question that looms. But let's get started. Let's cook it up. Let's cook it up. Let's cook it up. All right, chicky parm, a good old chicky parm. It's quite warm. This looks pretty, I don't know. I feel like this looks okay. I've had good luck with the frozen spaghetti in the past, so that should be fine. It's mostly this chicken that I'm not jazzed to eat, but I don't know. I don't know. There's a tiny section of chicken that has no sauce on it. I'm gonna go for that first because I think it's gonna be the crispiest. Oh, come on. Hate it. Smushy. No. This is literally the opposite of what I want any type of fried chicken to be. It's very wet. The breading, especially on the bottom, very, very soggy. Not even a hint of a crunch remaining. In fact, on the bottom, the breading has basically come completely off just because of how wet and soggy it is. I'm honest, I'm barely even tasting it. I'm so focused on the texture that I can't taste it. It tastes like marinara sauce with a little bit of cheese, just a little bit. I guess I have to go in for at least one more to make sure. I'm trying to figure out if I can taste the chicken. They're bragging about their all white meat chicken, and it's about the tiniest, saddest little piece of chicken I ever did see. I really don't like it. The breading and the cheese and the sauce is almost this gelatin consistency. It's like a piece of thin chicken wrapped in a marinara flavored Jell-O. That is how I would describe this, and I'm not into it. The spaghetti's not much better. Very wet, very noodly, very flavorless. I feel like with a lot of marinaras, you can tell just visually if it's a nice, thick and tasty marinara or if it's a watery, sad marinara. And it's pretty clear which one we have here, I think. Mm-mm. 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 No. It's a shame that I dislike the chicken so much because it's really where all of the flavor is. The noodles, despite how nice and seasoned they look, don't really taste like much. It's just not good. It's not good. The sauce isn't good. The noodles aren't good. About the only thing I really want to eat is the all white meat chicken, but I can't get to it because it's in a Jell-O of gross. If we remove the breading, right? Let's remove the breading. In the culinary industry, we call this food surgery, and it is encouraged. In fact, this is considered to be a very fancy way to eat your meal. You just gotta remove the parts that you don't like, and eventually you'll be left with, doesn't that look good? See, that's what I don't want to eat. This right here, this is the breading on the chicken that was surgically removed. Yeah, it looks gross. Now that we've got a chicken with less breading, the chicken's not bad. If you can get to it, the chicken's not bad. Everything else, absolutely terrible. The second saddest thing I've ever put in my mouth. Well said, mystery reviewer on Walmart.com. You know, I noticed on Walmart.com they seem to have hid the review section. I don't know if they did that to specifically hide it from me, but I was personally offended.
Nobody makes chicken like Boston Market. Now, Boston Market chicken is ready in your freezer.
Now, I was led to believe by watching all of these Boston Market commercials as preparation for this video that chicken is Boston Market's, their big thing. They used to be called Boston Chicken. That's how much chicken means to them. And I kind of think this is a disgrace. I think that if Mr. Boston, the founder of Boston Market, were to see this chicken today, he would cry, I guess. I actually don't know anything about Boston. Beef steak! Beef steak. Beef steak and pasta. Everybody loves a good beef steak and pasta. What is the difference between a beef steak and steak? Not sure. Maybe it's just for clarification. So it's not a pork steak, it's not a chicken steak. It's a beef steak and pasta with malfada pasta and mushrooms smothered in a savory brown gravy. The feature here is slow-cooked prime beef roast rib. I'm a big fan of mushrooms. I'm a big fan of savory gravy, and I'm a huge fan Okay. Okay. I feel like I really need to give up the idea that one of these frozen meals is actually gonna look appetizing out of the box, because they never do. It looks fine. You got noodles, you got beef steak, presumably, and then you got gravy. That's what they said would be in here, so I'm not surprised to find it there. It's frozen. It's cold. It's beef steak. All right, somebody fucking end me already. This might do it. This smelled awful while cooking. It didn't smell like a nice gravy. It didn't smell like a nice beef steak. It just smelled nasty. Looks very brown. It's a very rustic looking meal. It's just so wet. These are really thick noodles. So slimy, just slimy. I don't want a slimy noodle. It's like these are overcooked, too mushy. I'm not sure. You know, it's not bad. As shocking as it is, that's not too bad. It reminds me of a nice, slow roasted beef something or another. Out of all three meats today, this one is by far and away my favorite. It doesn't feel like an amalgamation of different grounded meats like the Salisbury steak does, and it's also not coated in a disgusting gelatinous paste like the chicken Alfredo. This is like a nice roast. It feels like a real piece of meat, and I enjoy eating it. Not too shabby. I'm gonna continue. It reminds me of a nice beef stew. I was ready for this to be my least favorite one, but that's really good. The problem is that this tasty beef steak, you have to dig through these disgusting, sloppy noodles to find it. The noodles are what, 70, 75, maybe even 80% of this meal, and I think they're disgusting. But before I even realized I'd done it, I've picked through the entire meal and eaten every single piece of beef steak from this meal, voluntarily. Well, if you're a fan of beef steak and you're a fan of disgusting noodles, this is your meal right here. I'll try another noodle. Maybe I just need to give the noodles a more chance. No, I really don't like them. Just not a big pasta guy. I like a ravioli, a stuffed ravioli, but just a floppy noodle, not really my thing. So there we have these three frozen Boston Market meals. I gotta say, they were fine. I honestly think the biggest crime of some of these frozen meals is that they're pretty much indistinguishable from any other brand. So if this is more expensive than a Banquet or a Hungry Man, I don't know that you go for any of this. I don't think that the Boston Market label makes it any better of food. In fact, I'm not sure that Boston Market has a hand in preparing this food at all. At the end of the day though, Boston Market is known for its home-styled cooking, and this is pretty much the opposite of that. Now if I'm gonna rank these, chicken Parmesan easily last place. I would not feed this to my worst enemy. To my worst enemy, I would feed nothing, and they would die in a hole, a pit, or a well of some sort. The bigger decision is beef steak versus Salisbury steak. And both beefs I enjoyed. This was a higher quality beef, but I still like a Salisbury steak. It tastes weird, but in a way that I like. The problem's in the pasta. This has wet, runny mac and cheese, which I actually kind of liked. It's like these long tapeworm looking noodles that I just hated. It's tough. I think if I had to pick a meal, I'm talking whole meal, I gotta sit down and eat it for dinner, I'm going with the Salisbury steak because it's more beef. It might not be as good quality, but it's still pretty tasty. And I didn't hate the side. I think I could get through most of the mac and cheese and kind of, you know, like trick myself into enjoying it. I'll just lie to myself enough saying, oh, you like it, you like it, you like it, and eventually it'll be gone. And that was Boston Market. I did not enjoy my trip to frozen Boston Market. I wouldn't really recommend it to anybody, but if you're a fan of frozen food and you choose to visit frozen Boston Market, let me know how that goes for you. Thanks for watching this episode of Brutal Foods. I'm happy to be brutal back, and I hope you enjoyed this Brutal Foods experience. HelloFresh, HelloFresh. This video sponsored by HelloFresh, the #1 meal kit. It beats the rest. And now I'm gonna tell you about HelloFresh. HelloFresh, HelloFresh. Named my first child after HelloFresh. We eat the meals together, and I must confess that HelloFresh saves me time and stress because of its quick and easy recipes, including 20-minute meals, easy cleanup, and low prep options. HelloFresh, HelloFresh. Affordable cooking with the HelloFresh. As tasty as a restaurant and we're delicious. And if you've got any of those weird food things, they're conscious about that too. HelloFresh, HelloFresh. Dedicate your life to HelloFresh. Try as you might, you can't resist. And if you set any healthy eating goals for this year, it's a great way to avoid ordering in every night. Go to HelloFresh.com and use code brutalmoose16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 surprise gifts. That's HelloFresh.com, code brutalmoose16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 surprise gifts.